Hi, Toastmaster Amrita. It's 6:31. You can start now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, everybody. This is the 11th WIN meet of the WIN Toastmasters Club. I am privileged to begin this as always. I request all the speakers and the participants to be on mute. Only when you are speaking, unmute yourself. Please switch on your video before you begin to speak. Do not try to do a tech check with am I audible? It is considered that you are audible, and if there is an issue, if we are not able to hear you, the technical SPOC will definitely contact you. The chat box can be used for any type of queries during the session. So let us not disturb, interrupt the speakers. If the meeting disconnects in between due to any reason, you are allowed to join back within 30 seconds. If you are joining the meeting via laptops or phones, ensure that you are in the gallery view. You are able to view all the members, all the participants. Keep your phone on silent, please. There will be times when we applaud each other, so keep the claps going. However, we'll be on mute, so they will all be very, very eco-friendly clapping here. Please avoid speaking on 3 taboo topics: sex, religion, and politics in any derogatory manner. So these were broadly laid out rules. I see we have a lot of participants, even some Gaviliers have joined us today. Gavilier Kavya and Vanya. Great to have you here. Even Gavilier Divya is here, Gavilier Aditya. Wonderful. So we have a lovely session lined up. Just to begin the session, we begin our sale with the person with calm and poise, not only in the face, but also in the voice. She's the Public Relations Manager, Division Q, and her passion for public speaking has made her a finalist in the International Speech Contest and the Evaluation Contest. This developer at TCS Research has varied interest in music, sports, and baking. I welcome our president and charter member of WIN Toastmasters Club, Toastmaster Ruchira Singh.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Amrita, our first time Sergeant at Arms, for playing your role so beautifully and starting off the session on such a wonderful note. With that, I would like to formally declare the meeting open for our 11th chapter meet today. Now, today, as we all know, that we have come here to have a special session today because we're going to be having a special evaluation workshop. So there are a lot of guests, Toastmasters and Gaviliers who've joined in the session today evening. So I won't be taking an individual round of introductions from all of you. I would just like to say welcome to WIN Toastmasters Club, and I hope that you have a wonderful learning session ahead today. Now, before we start the session, I wanted to share a small story with you. So from my school days, I've performed on the stage several times, whether it was in a choir or in a school play. However, the first time that I performed solo was at a fest in college. It was this huge stage at the end of the field, and as my name was called, I walked up to the stage and I was given this handheld mic. I was feeling so nervous that day. I could feel my throat close up. I could feel my legs shake. And as the music started, I thought that I would be able to sing and it would get better, but it didn't. My hands shook so much and were sweating so much, I had to put my other hand over it just to hold the mic steady. I saw the face of one person in the audience. I fixated my gaze on that person and I managed to finish the song. Now, I believe that that day was a very important turning point for me in my life. Not because I didn't place at all, but because I met the judge after the contest. And he told me that you may have a good voice, but that's not what really matters. If your audience doesn't feel connected with you emotionally, then you cannot make them remember you. And that feedback for me was a turning point in my life. It was then that I realized that the feedback that I received was something that I could use, whether delivering a speech, sharing a story, or even singing a song. And that's when I realized that this kind of feedback is truly a gift. It's G, given with permission. I, it's given with an intent for growth. F, it's given for and not about a person. And T, it's given for you to target success. And to show us all here today evening how we can share this gift effectively with others, we have a lady with us today who will be showing us the power of effective evaluations. The trainer for today's evaluation workshop, Toastmaster Rani, is currently working as a senior managing consultant and architect at Hybrid Cloud Services of IBM India. Her daily roles entail designing technical architecture and managing engagements, wherein feedback plays a crucial tenet to live by. At Toastmasters, she's an immediate past area director and a speaker at multiple professional forums and conventions. Writing, creative designing, technology volunteering for nonprofits, and educating pro bono are just a few of her many hobbies. With that, please join me in welcoming our trainer for today evening, Toastmaster Rani. Over to you, Toastmaster Rani.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ruchira. Hello, everyone, and it's an immense pleasure to come to this beautiful Toastmasters Club, which I've been hearing for a really, really long time. And I must say, I knew the president beforehand, but the Sergeant at Arms was impressive today. So thank you so much for that beautiful laying out of the session. Very succinctly done, and I really enjoyed it. And I am equally excited to see all the Cavaliers. I had no idea that somebody could be so serious at this age. I wish I could go back to my age and be this serious and be this confident as you all are today. Well, but then age is a different phenomena that few of us are already realizing. So we can't go back in time, no matter how many Netflix series come and tell us or cartoon series come and tell us that time travel is possible, but that's for another day. Today, I'm here to take a session which I must say, here's a little secret. There is a specific number of times you can tell Toastmaster Ruchira about excuses on where you are involved and where you're engaged, but she is so persistent that you finally have to bow down and agree to do something with her or for her at some point of time. So this is one of the little secret on the story behind the scenes. That is why I finally get to meet you all today. So thank you so much, Toastmaster Ruchira, for inviting me. Now, I'm going to start, and for that, I would be sharing my screen. As the Sergeant at Arms highlighted that in case you do not see my screen, I'm sure somebody will point out. Otherwise, I just consider that my screen is visible. Thank you, Toastmaster Ruchira, for the thumbs up. All right, with that, now, today we are here for an evaluation workshop. And as the president of this club already highlighted with such a beautiful story on how feedback is such an important thing in all of our lives. Now, I would like to ask you all a question. Do you think the feedback is important in just the speeches that we give at our Toastmasters forum, or maybe in our schools and colleges when the teachers or the professors come back and tell us how we did good or did not do so well at any subject? Or is it just limited to the work area wherein we ask our bosses or we give feedback to our other team members on how they have been doing? I'm sure everybody who is working would recollect the dreaded employee evaluation that happens annually every year at every organization. So is feedback something which is relevant in all of these scenarios? And is it that only? Or would anyone come up and tell me a personal example where you feel feedback was equally relevant? Something that is not related to a competition or a contest or any sort of that scenario. Any suggestions, anything that comes to your mind? Yes, please unmute yourself and share. I can see a lot of hands from the Cavaliers. That's terrific.
Can I share?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, actually, it was a long time back. It was during my son's PTM. I remember I had gone for the PTM and the teacher told me such a lot of points which I just sort of overlooked or had the overconfidence to, okay, ye sab theek ho jayega. This is not something I should look at. So there are so many things she pointed out to me which were very, very important and which really, really worked in tutoring my son in future. So I feel feedback is absolutely necessary in all walks of life.
Wonderful. How about I ask another question? How many times do you feel feedback was an important thing in your conversation with your spouse or your best friend, or maybe just talking to somebody over phone? Do you think feedback is important there, or did you have to structure something that you had to say and you had to give a feedback or a suggestion to them? Yes, Gavalier Avisha, you could
Yes.
unmute yourself.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So, for me, feedback I think is very important because in every conversation, in every content of someone who's speaking, everywhere, if you feel like you are best at it, there will be no thing that you could have work on it. Then you are absolutely wrong because uh, if we get the feedback, then it will help us to make us more confident, and it will make us more uh, better on making contents, speaking skills. So I think feedback is very much necessary.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Gavalier Avisha Jain. So Avisha's point of view was about how you can never be the best version, or you should not ever have a best version of your already done and dusted in your mind. So continuous feedback is what helps you to improve constantly. I must tell you something personal here. I think it feedback and the whole process of going through the Toastmasters evaluation, trust me, it has helped me in conveying to my husband the mistakes that he does at house. And I do it so sweetly now. Our relationship has improved because I have been applying Toastmasters principles to give him feedback, starting from if he doesn't do the laundry properly. So I tell him not just that you don't do the laundry properly, I tell him that you did this better today, honey, but then you could have kept the whites separate from the pinks, and that's how we can have fresher laundry next time. So these are a couple of examples. I think feedback is not just relevant on outside world or being better versions of ourselves, but it matters in every relationship and every conversation that we have. So Toastmasters, via the prepared speech and the evaluation segment, gives us this opportunity to constantly improve and improvise upon this tactic and strategy on how do we observe, how do we critique something. Critique is different from criticism. And how do we positively motivate for improvement, not just in ourselves on receiving it, but also presenting it. So let's move ahead on. We are talking so much about feedback, but where do we start? What would be the first step? Now, let's say your VP education or vice president education or someone from your club organ committee has approached to you that we have a session and you are going to evaluate someone else in your club. The first things first is, do you know what you need to do? What are you going to evaluate on? What is your strategy you're going to come up with? So all of those questions is where would be our starting point. And like I said, first things first. And I remember one of the Gavalier asked at the beginning that should she get a notepad or a pen? Well, always, like Toastmaster Ruchira said, always get it. So the first thing before evaluation is ensure when you step into the meeting room or when you are about to start your evaluation, be prepared with a notepad and pen, and we'll see why and how we are going to use it when we do the actual evaluation. The second thing is, I would be just minimizing, yeah. Yeah. The second thing is getting the evaluation worksheet. Now, this is a very important thing. While it sounds like the 001 level, not even 101 level, but getting the evaluation worksheet is a very important thing. And we used to have this preferred tradition wherein the speaker would be responsible for downloading their evaluation resource from the Pathways Basecamp and probably forward it or mail it to the evaluator, but not always will you always see this pattern occurring. So it is important for you to find out certain details about the speech, or maybe find out from the VP education which project or which speech level is going to be presented by the speaker, and try to get that worksheet yourself. Now, how do you get, um, yeah. Now, there are different ways to get it. Number one, if you know how to navigate, or you need to just get into the Pathways Basecamp from the Toastmasters website, and all you need to do is in the Basecamp, the quickest way to get it is just go into tutorials and resources and pick up your subject as the evaluation resource. Like I have already added the filters here, and you can always pick up your particular language. So here below, you have these project descriptions, resource documents, and all of the paraphernalia. But all you need to do is always click on this filter of evaluation resource, pick your
Sorry to interrupt you, Toastmaster Rani. I think the screen is still on the PPT.
Okay,
You'll have to reshare the
sure.
screen.
Thank you so much for pointing out. I hope that's visible now.
Yes.
Thank you. So this is the base camp. Once you reach the base camp, you have to go to the either from the home or from this drop down, you have the tutorials and resources. So click on the tutorials and resources, and all you need to do is you have to filter out from the subject, which is pick up the evaluation resources and pick up your specific language. If you know Japanese, or if you are going to evaluate a Korean, you feel free to pick up that language. Else let's just settle for English. And once you have that, you are going to find all of the resources right away. I can just navigate once more for everyone's interest here. So we go to Basecamp. And while that loads for me, when you land on the home page of the Basecamp, all you would find is this speech evaluations or tutorials and resources. Either one of you is going to directly take you to the resources of evaluation. And if you click on tutorials and resources, you would have seen the previous screen which I was sharing earlier. If you click on speech evaluations, you are going to land up to a page like this. And here in the entire layout, you would find every possible project's respective speech evaluation resource linked right away. So all you need to do is find out from the speaker which particular project they're giving. Is it about effective body language? Is it about lead in any situation? Or you can find out also from the vice president education of your club, the detail. And once you click on this, it's going to route you to a PDF document from which you can download it and have a version of the evaluation resource with you. Now suppose you do not want to get into the Pathways Basecamp, because I find it a little cumbersome, as I have to increase my number of clicks and navigate too much. And I'm not a fan of navigating too much for something simpler. So what I do is sometimes I just go into the Toastmasters website and I click on resources. So you don't have to go to Pathways. You have to just click on resources here, and you will get this filter category here. All you have to do is here again, you can select from the category evaluation resources. And in this, you can just type the keyword. If I do not type the keyword, it is going to give me all possible evaluation resources for all projects which are present under pathways. But if I want to select that, I know my speaker is going to talk about storytelling, or probably do something about conflict. If that is the particular project that they're going to deliver, then all I have to do is type one of the keyword related to it, and it'll give me the evaluation resource right away. So I can view the form right here. It'll open a PDF. I can download it, and that's how I get it. Now, if you're lazier even for that, which I am, so what I do is I just go to the Google search engine and I type out something like this, which gives, I give out that I need a Toastmasters evaluation resource, and this is the project that I'm looking for. Once you do that, your first search would redirect you directly to that particular Toastmasters resource website, and you can download it from there right away. If you don't want to do it at all, you can always go back and bug the Vice President Education, who are really nice people and quite burdened people, or the speaker, to ensure that they send you the evaluation resource. Now, once you have the evaluation resource, what do you do? Well, sometimes you just walk into the meeting room and you find out the evaluation resource for the first time, and you realize that, all right, I'm going to evaluate on this project. But the better approach is try to get it at least a day before, if not too long or too earlier. Get the resource, and here in the evaluation form, you would have the purpose statement here. This is what is when the Toastmaster of the day asks you to read out the objectives of the project. All you need to do is in the session, you need to read out this much. That's all. There now, what you have here and later on, that is for your personal use as an evaluator. So make sure that you always read the notes for an evaluator. Sometimes there are really complex projects, or maybe about a experience that you might not have done yourself, or every speech should not be evaluated the same way in a club. There are specific projects. If the project says, like this one says, connect with storytelling, now you cannot evaluate the speech only by the basic tenets of any speech, which is it just about body language, is it just about stage use, is it just about voice modulation, and be done and dusted with it. Then you're not really doing the or meeting the purpose of evaluating a project related to storytelling. So when it is storytelling, here the notes of the evaluator are something very simple, in simple terms, which is given that you need to focus, the member is expected to focus on using stories in a speech or creating a speech that is a story. Then the next line goes that the story could be a personal, well-known fiction or any of their own creation, and so on. And the expectation is you are looking for, this one is a crucial line here, that listen for a well organized speech that is a story or includes a story. Now, these notes are very crucial for any evaluator, irrespective of whether you are starting for the first time as an evaluator or you have been a seasoned evaluator. There could be some project where you might not have completed, so you might not be completely aware, but still you might have taken the challenge of evaluating such a project. So look for the notes for the evaluator. Do not read it out in a session. These are for your personal use. And here is a little trick. What I do is, when I find out about what kind of project I'm evaluating, and if I see certain notes, and if I have to evaluate a project about storytelling, I go back and I search a little more on what makes a good story. So if somebody is coming back and describing in their speech a story, or they're including or basing their speech around a story, so I look for that. Did they meet the story elements, which are supposedly the best story elements? Do they meet it right in their speech project? And I try to give them a feedback based on that. That did I find those story elements? A story element, something like there should be a contradiction, there should be something going fine, or you have a context setting, and then there is a sudden transition happening. I do not want to remind you all about Ekta Kapoor or any kind of fancy fairy tale, but always there are certain characters. There is a Princess Elsa, there is a Frozen, there could be a villain, there could be some twist happening, there could be some surprise, there could be some secret. So those are little story elements. So when a speaker comes in a session and they are trying to share or give a speech on around storytelling, are they able to highlight those key elements of a story? Now, just by reading this evaluation resource, I might not be able to figure that out. Probably I don't know anything about storytelling. But if I do my homework before coming to a session wherein I have to evaluate around this, and if I know that I'm evaluating around this, then I might do a better job. So that is the preparation which is mandatory if you are going to evaluate. So when you get the evaluation worksheet, go through the purpose of the project, go through the notes. Based on the notes, do you see that you need to do a little more research to understand the purpose of the speech or the nature of the speech better? Then go ahead, do that research. Come back with your notes and be prepared to evaluate right. The next thing is, it could be possible that your communication channel is only with the vice president education, or somebody from the club committee comes and tells you that, all right, you need to just take up a role and evaluate. But the better way to do it is, do you know the speaker? Even if you don't know the speaker, use this as an opportunity to talk to the speaker. There are multiple and manifold reasons to do that. Number one, when we join Toastmasters, one of the crucial element that we are going to leverage out of this is networking. And networking bases itself on knowing people, knowing a variety of people more. And in order to do that, you need to connect with more and more people. So this is an opportunity. If you're evaluating someone new or someone old, someone you really know a lot well, or someone you do not know at all, irrespective of all of this, go ahead, pick up a phone, or meet if you know them, or if you work at the same place or you go to the same school. And yes, post pandemic or pre pandemic days nature. So you might just bump into them and discuss with them. If not virtually, just pick up your WhatsApp or a phone call or your landline, whatever you have, and connect with the speaker. So when you connect with the speaker, obviously the first thing is you might just want to introduce yourself if you do not know the person, and then you need to ask each other or exchange the evaluation resource and so on. But the key element is, in a club evaluation, you're going to constantly evaluate people and their speeches. So it is important to know what a particular speaker is looking for. Now, I might randomly just come up and give a speech, but I might be looking or I might be aware that I have a tendency to speak very fast, probably, or I am having a problem in summarizing my content and overshooting the time. These could be my personal evaluations about myself or my problem areas, which I feel. So when I connect to my evaluator, I might ask my evaluator, could you kindly go through or observe these elements? Am I improving on these elements, or have I been able to handle them differently? So that is what you do when you connect to the speaker. You understand where they are coming from, what are they looking for to achieve in this speech when they deliver it, apart from the evaluation objective. So there is a project objective, but there is a certain maturity that the speaker might be at. If somebody is starting as an icebreaker, they might know that, all right, I have a stammering problem probably. So I want you as an evaluator to kindly observe that how many times I'm stammering, or what could I have done better to stop stammering? How could I have paused myself at the right moment? So I need specific feedback around it. So that those are the elements, or that is the background information that you need to collect from the speaker. And that's what it implies, that before the evaluation, connect with the speaker. You might have a time constraints and other exigencies are understood, but this is the ideal state that we would want every one of us to do when we are supposed to evaluate someone in a Toastmasters meeting. The other thing is, obviously you need to get the speech details, which is helpful because when the Toastmaster of the day asks you to announce the speaker or read out the speech objectives, it's a nicer way to announce their name, or Toastmaster Pratiti is going to deliver a speech from her mastery in presentation path, and she's going to do a level 5 first speech. So all those details are good for setting the context for the entire audience, and also for you to be aware that it gives an insight then what could be the maturity level of this person in their Toastmasters journey. Not necessary that somebody who is starting as an icebreaker would be a novice speaker or a new speaker. It is possible that they might have been already good speakers, but giving that contextual information just adds an element like storytelling to it. And all throughout, what is important is before the evaluation, do think ahead on your strategy. So I'll relate it back to the evaluation worksheet. So if the evaluation worksheet or the project was about storytelling, and I don't know enough about storytelling, or I might know enough about storytelling, and this is something which I had literally done when when it was the first time I was evaluating somebody's speech around storytelling. I went back and searched on what are the elements which makes a good story, and I read few things interestingly about Walt Disney and how they plan out their movie plots on what is the crux, who are the main characters, how do they build the character, how does the character have a portrait arc, like does the character go from good to bad, or what is the transition, what is the trigger in their life, how do they make the transit. So that's when I realized that all right, that's what makes a good story. Is there an ending to it? Is there a moral out of it? Is there a lesson out of it? Or what is the pattern that somebody has used to tell their story? So when I got an idea about those stories, so I was able to evaluate better. When I went into the session and I heard someone tell a narrator story, I was able to give them constructive feedback on what I was looking for, what makes a good story, what they did, and what they could have done better. That's why think ahead, plan your strategy. And it also means strategy would also mean where do you sit? What pen and paper are you going to use? How are you going to structure your sheet? Even those are part of your strategy. And we'll see a little more about it in the next. Now, after we have completed our homework before the evaluation, what do we do during the evaluation? The first thing is very interesting, isn't it? Be present. Does that mean that your evaluation, you were supposed to attend the meeting on a Sunday and you forgot, you try to join in on a Monday? Is that what it's supposed to mean? Or does it mean something else? Does it trigger something else in your mind? I would love to hear somebody's opinion or suggestions.
I
Yes,
think attentive.
right, right. Thank you so much, distinguished Toastmaster Satyadeep. I see a few hands raised from the Gavalier. Avisha, or would you like to say, or Vanya?
Um, I would like to say,
Sure.
so be present according to me means like uh, to be active while attending the meeting.
Okay. That's a very interesting point.
Ma'am, can
And
I?
yes, sure.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I feel that like in these online meetings, we need to present mentally also there, not only our laptops. And if we listen to our meetings carefully, it may lead us to very nice things. Like, for example, we are learning a lot of things in today's meeting, and if we are not attentive today, we wouldn't be able to, we would miss out many points that may be relatable to us today.
Lovely. That's a very profound answer. Thank you so much, Vanya. All right. Excellent answers. Complete coverage, I must say. Thank you for making my job easy. So, being present is definitely being attentive and being active. Now, I love the answer being active because um, there was this psychologically, if Toastmasters environment is all about positively affirming everyone's improvement. So, I find it morally a responsibility whenever I'm evaluating someone. I ensure that I look at the speaker and I make myself visible and I try to encourage them silently by acknowledging with verbal, physical cues, not verbal, non-verbal and physical cues, by something as simple as nodding or just expressing, fixating them with your attention, your gaze, and a simple thing like nodding could do a lot of wonders to someone. Let's say the speaker is nervous or the speaker has really spent a lot of effort. When you are speaking, you would have realized that we always try to look at people and their faces, and we try to feel more connected and comfortable when somebody is a familiar or a warm face, or someone is who smiles at the right time at a right joke that we are trying to, when we are trying to make people laugh, or we are telling something sad and somebody acknowledges with probably a thoughtful nod. So nodding was something I learned from one of my friend in college way back. I used to notice that whenever a professor used to come and teach, even if nobody of us understood anything, she would always ensure she looks at the professor, smiles, and keeps on vigorously nodding. And I would be wondering, why is she nodding so much? But then I started observing that the professors sometimes also feel nervous when they're surrounded by engineering students who wouldn't miss a chance to tease them. And I'm not sure how much the Cavaliers tease their teachers at the moment, but this was a thing at our times for sure. So this simple act that my friend was doing, and this is an absolutely real story. She still is my friend and she still talks the same way to everyone. And whenever she listens to someone, she would be vigorously nodding. She will always make you feel good and give you the impression that, yes, I'm there and I'm listening to you. That was her best thing. So being present is not just being attentive, but being active as well. A very, very profound point raised by, or answer given by the Cavalier. And yes, please be on time as well. So you wouldn't want to miss out or land up late and create a fuss about it and have your speaker waiting and create an emotional or a mental pressure when they're feeling already they have to remember their prepared speech and be come with a certain frame of mind. So being present is all about that. It's about your cordial nature. It's about respecting the environment around you, and being attentive is not an easy task. I do have a habit of daydreaming. So if I'm not evaluating, or if I'm the speaker, I have the liberty of daydreaming at the rest parts of the meeting. I find it the toughest role to either evaluate someone, or the tougher roles are general evaluation and grammarian, R counter, and timer. Timer can still daydream. I have done that, but grammarian and R counter, oh my goodness, those are the two people who have to constantly stay attentive and keep on observing for 2 hours. Sometimes we have sessions of 2 hours, right? So for 2 hours, 3 hours, somebody's constantly observing and noting, which brings us to the second point here, that, thank you. I would just share my screen again, which brings us to the second point, that during the evaluation, you have to constantly observe and note. At the same time, you have to express your presence to the speaker and be attentive. And what else do you do? Hear, see, and feel. So the entire role about it, or the meat about the whole thing about hearing, seeing, and feeling. Feeling is definitely, please do not touch the speaker when they're speaking. That's not what this is all about. But it's about connecting. So you have to really use your senses. What are you hearing? Hearing includes what are they speaking, what sounds are they creating. Sometimes they use different kinds of sounds or aids to their delivery, so look ahead for that. Are they having any kind of speech impediments which is obstructing your listening? Or if it's a virtual platform, has there been any disturbance? Could they have planned better? So things like that you have to constantly hear. And seeing is observing their body language. And body language does not mean that if somebody wants to express enthusiasm, I am excited today, it doesn't have to be told as I'm excited today. That could be somebody's way of saying, but it has to make sense. If somebody is overdoing it, that could be a feedback that I felt that you were exaggerating than what was necessary. So you have to constantly see every expression of their face, every movement of their body. Did you feel sometimes when people are nervous, I have observed speakers, or I have myself experienced that we used to have the stiff soldiers. So somebody would be doing all kinds of hand gestures, but their shoulders would be really, really stiff. So that could be something that you need to see and observe and note as your one of your observation into your sheet. And then the final thing is relating back to objectives. This is where you need to go back to the evaluation resource, and it is not a generic speech observation that you're doing, because every speech is going to be different based on that project. So you have to find out or relate back whatever this speaker is doing at this moment, even if it is the best of the best speech that they're delivering today, is it relevant to the project for which they're delivering it? Now, if somebody has a project around understanding my own leadership style, but they come up and give a great story about themselves on what they had done, and you feel that it was more oriented around communication rather than leadership. So finding out that relation is very important, and that's why you need to be very present and attentive to be continuously doing that. Else, you trust me, you will meet speakers or you will be evaluating speakers who would be so fabulous in their way of rendition and delivery that you might just forget that they did everything so good, but it was not related to the project. So that's why it's very important to be able to relate back. And of course, during the evaluation, the most important thing, you need to understand the point of view of the speaker. Sometimes they might be speaking on subjects that could be completely different from what you believe in or what you might be aware of. It could be, though we do not talk about politics or religion, but sometimes we do have subjects on which I, as a person, might have a strong opinion, and the speaker comes up and shares a very different opinion. But it is important that we do not get biased by it emotionally and try to understand why the speaker says something or what is their point of view behind their entire speech. Understanding that is important because you have to give a neutrally non sensitive evaluation. When I say non sensitive, it should not be colored by your ideas over a subject or what is your opinion about the content. It should be aligned to whatever they want to say. Now, this is something when we talked about the notepad or a pen up paper. So this is one of the approach. Do not think that there is only one approach of doing anything, but here is how I try to sometimes divide my sheet, and I have experimented with different techniques. I thought I will start or I will share this technique today, which is whenever you start your evaluation and you have to observe and note. So how do you really take down those points? One simple way of doing this is you could divide your paper this way on plus and minus, which is the positive and the negative. And yeah, I have also done a horizontal division around what did I see, what did I hear, and what did I feel. Within that, I have tried to divide or I try to observe and note what were the pluses and the minuses. Now, it is possible that I might have about 10 observations around what did I see, and they were all positive observations. Or maybe the speaker, I had some issues with the speaker's voice modulation, or I did not find it exciting enough or to the subject and pertained or curtailed to the subject enough. So maybe I noted down 15 negative points that I could think of or that I could observe from the speaker. But do I really go back and tell the speaker all of it? Never. Unless the speaker asks for an offline feedback in more details, please do not ever overwhelm the speaker with too many commendations or too many recommendations. Sometimes we might have a very novice speaker or someone who probably has to go a long way to refine their way of speaking. And we get really excited as an evaluator. All right, I get so many recommendations. But do not try to fit that all of that into your speech. So the next thing which I do is when you're noting, do try to note as much as you can, and do not just note that speaker needs voice modulation correction. That's not how you note. You need to note in specifics that when the speaker was saying this particular line, his voice, he was expressing something sad, but his voice was not expressing the emotion, or it was a one tonal voice. That is the kind of observation. It has to be as specific as possible, because that will be your evidence when you go back and deliver your presentation on the evaluation. And after you do that observation, you need to note it down, and you have to pick out your top three or top three pluses and top three minuses. it would be throughout, not just see, hear, and feel. Everywhere you have to pick top three and plus and minus. No, you just need to pick overall top three plus and minus. And that's also a lot. Sometimes you will see that it's also a possibility that you might not want to give three recommendations and three commendations. You may want to give only two commendations and two recommendations. Or sometimes you really have a wonderful speech wherein probably there is one forced on, or maybe only one recommendation. And it's also possible that sometimes you may have no recommendation at all. Let's just accept and be real about it, and be okay to accept and say that today was such a great day that I do not have any recommendation for this speaker. And don't feel that you did not do your job well as an evaluator just because you could not find a recommendation. You do need to challenge yourself and try it, but do not try to make up out of thin air that this could be probably a recommendation. For example, one interesting observation that I have is when we try to evaluate and we come across great speakers or wonderful speeches. So what do? Is we fall back on safety net. And how do we do that? The speaker has done, maybe probably rendered a speech on understanding leadership style, and we try to give that person a feedback like, I felt that you could have used the stage a little better. Now we do not justify why do I want to recommend this person to use the stage a little better. There have been sentences told like, the stage is yours, you were using the front and the back of the stage, but the right and left of the stage was not used. But that is not going to help the speaker, and it doesn't make sense at all. If you really feel that the speech could have been better, or the presence or connect that the speaker had with the person sitting on the rightmost corner or leftmost corner, maybe the involvement could be done a little better if the speaker had done the movement. Did this speech, the subject, whatever the speaker was sharing, did it really need a movement of that kind to justify that movement? Then that is a real feedback. If it is not, then do not try to make it up in the thin air. Be humble enough and proud enough to say that today was the day when I do not have a recommendation because I really, really loved your speech so much. Don't be afraid to do that. Now, next thing is, let's say you did get top three pluses and top three minuses. How do you structure it? So on the right side, this is one of the recommended, and this is a personal recommendation. You need to experiment and you need to come up with your own structures as well. And do not be afraid to experiment. That's what Toastmasters is all about. So in the presentation structure, you can start with an introduction. We'll talk about a little more about the introduction in the next slide, and start with your second and third best commendations, not with the first one. So in the top three, if you can find out your plus, the best of the bestest. So if that is possible, reserve it. Start with the second and third best commendations, then go ahead, give your recommendations. And when you give a recommendation, remember, recommendation is supposed to be a solution to a problem, not the problem only. So if you feel a recommendation is not, I think you need to, um, I think you need to use, need to work on your voice modulation. That is not a recommendation. It is unclear, it is ambiguous why that person needs to work on recommendation. What you need to do is you need to structure it in a way. I felt that you were missing out on the low notes when you were expressing sadness. Hence, I felt that if you could work on your voice modulation, on the depth of your voice, then your impact of conveying that emotion would be stronger. Now, this is a recommendation. Or I think you need to work on your you should really work on your facial expressions. Now, this is not a recommendation again. What do you mean you should work on your facial expressions? You need to pick up something from their speech and say that when you were expressing this, this was a hilarious moment from your speech, but I felt that you were not laughing and enjoying that moment yourself. So I think if you could introduce a little more jovialness in your face when you were giving this recommendation, it'll do a great in connecting with the audience so that we all feel connected to the same emotion at the same time. That could be a recommendation. And finally, you need to end it with the best commendation. So try, if you have three commendations, try to start with the lesser important ones and reserve the best for the last, so that Once you have given, now it's psychology, right? Once somebody, you give somebody things where they need to improve, you need to say something. If you say something good again, they will feel that, all right, I was collectively or holistically seen for what I have put in efforts for, rather than just that, all right, you need to do this. Then that person goes in with a negative taste or a sour aftertaste. So that's why reserve the best or the sweetest thing for the last, best commendation. And then always summarize, because you speak for a long time, then people might forget what were the commendations and recommendations. That's why always crisply summarize. Do not repeat the whole thing again. Just highlight the keywords of 3 keywords for the best commendations and 3 keywords for the best recommendations. And that's it. And you need to always sign off with a high note, and go creative with how do you sign off with a high note. Now, will I mentioned that the introduction of an evaluation speech is again very interesting. There are different ways to do it, especially if you attend an evaluation speech contest, you will see how people creatively experiment. Sometimes people start with a quote. Now, quote could be a random one about evaluation, quote could be something related to the subject. If somebody spoke about hard work and you're evaluating a speech about hard work, maybe you start with a quote about hard work when you start your evaluation. That could be one way of starting your evaluation speech. There could also be an acronym. Now, I love acronyms. So, for example, if somebody speaks about diet, and they went on and on about what would be the good dieting techniques, what are the good diets, what are the controls. Suppose you are evaluating that person, and in your observations you managed to notice that this person had diversity in their subject content. This person had a lot of information. This person made it very engaging, and this person gave in a message which was transforming. So you notice what I did: diversifying D, informative I, E for engaging, and T for transformation. So if somebody was speaking about diet, my evaluation, if I try to take out the keyword and form an acronym in my evaluation, and I start off with something like, today, distinguished Toastmaster Satyadeep spoke or sold us diet. And this is why I feel he did do a good job at selling us diet, because he was diversified in his content, because he was informative, because he engaged us all, and he gave us a transformative lesson. That's how you have an acronym in your evaluation speech. Then is a theme or analogy. This is quite simple and easy and fun to do. So you can pick up anything random. Something like, today, your speech, Toastmaster Ruchira, reminded me, was like a Karan Johar movie. You spoke about great human relationship values. Your speech took us to great exotic locations in Switzerland, and it weaved a story around it. And in the end, there was so much of drama. So, so you related completely to a Karan Johar's movie. That's how you spin out or have your evaluation on a theme or analogy. Then you can always start with something humorous in your speech, evaluation speech when you started. It could be a joke. Make it a relatable joke, of course. Joking about something completely random won't make sense to anyone. It might break the ice, but it will throw people off the guard. So come up with a clever joke, or come up with some kind of you know multiple meaning, a humorous meaning to a word that the speaker may have used as a keyword in their speech. That could be something. Or you could start with something very obvious, like referring to an original speech's key element. If the speaker was talking about fashion wardrobe, so today, Toastmaster Panna told us about the use of muslin cloth in the suits or female pantsuits or anything about it. So you could start with a clear reference to that. That could be a starting point. Or the last of all, and the easiest way to engage an audience, is always ask a question. If somebody was in their speech was trying to sell ice creams to Eskimos, so maybe you could ask the question as the starting point of your evaluation speech: do you think we should be selling ice creams to Eskimos? Don't you think they will catch a cold because they're already in so much of ice? So something as humorous and asking a question, it could be any of it. That could be a starting point. In typical speech elements, these are called the hooks on how do you start, and you lace it with an introduction. So pretty interesting stuff. Always experiment. Don't just settle down for one technique. Never settle for one technique. Keep on experimenting, and that's what club is for. Unless it's a contest, you go in with a clear strategy on what you want to do. In the club level or at the club level, always experiment. Now, while you're presenting the evaluation, couple of very key things to note. Always personalize. Never speak for the audience, never speak for your best friend, never speak for your mom, never speak for anyone except you. Start every sentence, every observation as I observed or I felt. Today I saw. Everything has to be I. This is the only time you get to be I, and all about I, and nobody is going to mind for you being so I oriented. Then the next thing is try to give a feedback, never give an advice. Advice is something you need to improve, but you do not give a reason to improve, or you do not provide an evidence to improve. So let's say I try this. If I say something like, I felt my attention wavering as you rendered the conversation between the multiple characters in your speech at a single note. What do you think? Is this a feedback or is this an advice? Anyone can answer by unmuting themselves.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. I'm going to read out a statement. Okay. And you need to tell me, am I giving you a feedback or am I giving you an advice? So if
Can
I say,
I?
I felt my attention wavering as you delivered your conversation in the speech between multiple characters in the same tone. Is this a feedback or is this an advice?
Can I?
Yeah, sure.
I guess this is an advice.
Is it?
Yes, ma'am. A bit like.
Ma'am, I think it is a feedback.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, the right answer is a feedback. So
Meant
the difference between a feedback and advice is feedback is when you provide some concrete observation and information back. So when I said that I felt today when you were doing this and I was giving a valid example and saying that sentence around, so that's the real feedback which I'm giving. But what if I say you should use the stage more? Is this a feedback or an advice?
Can I? Can I
Sure.
answer?
Yeah, sure, sure. Whoever does it first gets the answer.
It's advice. Advice.
Yes, it's an advice because I'm not giving a reason. I don't give evidence. I don't give any information. I just say, and also note the keywords like you should. In your evaluation, never use you should because that means that you are coming from an authoritative position and trying to impress upon someone that this is how you should do things. You know, the granny style. You should be doing this. You should not wear this. You should talk this way. Those are advices. If you really want to do some give someone or suggest someone to do something differently, you need to tell them exactly, be specific that don't want you to be eating a pizza because I feel that you have already gained so much of weight during the lockdown, so maybe you should refrain from carbs for some time. This is a feedback. Just saying I think you should be losing some weight, that's an advice. Now last one. If I say, you used different props today in your speech, is this a feedback or is this an advice?
Advice.
Anyone else?
observation leading to feedback.
Yes, that's the right answer because I'm giving a concrete information. You used different props today. That's an observation. So it will be part of a feedback later on, as was rightly pointed out. Thank you so much. So the next thing is when it related to feedback, obviously give feedback, not advice, be specific. Be use real examples, make it keep it real, and pick up live content from their speeches of the speaker. And when it comes to recommendation or when you're really giving a feedback as a recommendation, suggest solution. So just saying I felt you should have used the stage more because the when I was sitting at this corner, I could not connect to you. But try to level it up by saying that when you were talking to your mother in the speech at this point of time, I felt you could have walked to this side of the stage and done her side of speaking, then the stage would have been used. Plus, the audience at this side would have felt more involved and engaged. Now, that's a solution, not just a problem. So, if you just highlight a problem, you need to work on your voice modulation. That's a problem. Probably the speaker already knows the problem. What did you do extra? How did you challenge yourself as an evaluator and help that person? That's where you need to suggest some form of solution. Especially, this is very interesting. If you come across really great speeches, that was the day of the speaker probably, and they have done something really well. But if you think that always you keep on asking yourself, now, how do I take this amazing speech? What could I tell this person to make it even better? Is there something? So once I came across one of the Toastmasters who saw another person deliver a speech, and she was talking about a heartbreak, and she did it in a beautiful way. She was going around the stage, connecting to the audience. She was very emotive, expressive, and everything. It looked like beautifully done, perfect. But this Toastmaster, in the evaluation, he comes up and he tells her that it was great, but I was just thinking, how can we glam up the wow factor? What if you could had taken a balloon when you were finally ending, and when your heart broke, what if you had burst the balloon, and like you mentioned that your pieces of your heart were scattered on the floor? What if you had stuffed some paper into it, and when you finally prick it and the balloon burst, the cascade effect which happens around it, that would have added so much of drama element to it and would have really given a surprise to the audience. And given your way of rendering it, since it was not extremely serious or reserved, I felt you had the aura to do this. So he explained really, really well why he was suggesting. Do note two things here. Number one, he did not give a suggestion to add a dramatic element to someone who has a probably, or for a serious speech, or maybe for a reserved person, or probably an introvert person who is experimenting for the first time with the audience. He gave this suggestion to somebody really comfortable. So when you give your suggestion as a solution to somebody's problem, you need to always understand what kind of person you're giving a solution or a problem suggestion to. So all that's why you need to understand the speaker and the person behind, understand from where, what kind of context they're giving. Now, if somebody is coming and giving a speech around a business presentation that they might have done, or maybe a research presentation that they might have done, and they're supposed to give a speech around it and come and tell us, would we suggest as an evaluator that, all right, I think you should have done this balloon thing here, or maybe added some flowers here? No, that is not related to the tone of the speech or tone of the context. So avoid doing that. And hence, when you are solving a problem, understand the problem well, understand the context around it well, and understand the project around it well. If you have questions, I will just take it at the end. So I'll quickly touch upon few things so that we do not cross over the time. The other thing is techniques. Now, in technique, when I showed you in the immediate previous slide about how we sandwich, we started with the good point, then we talked about the not so good point and with the solution for them, and then we came back to the good point. This is a traditional technique of sandwiching. You start with good, you tell the not so good, and then you end with something good, and then the high thing is adding a cherry at the end, probably to leave the speaker with a high note. So that is one of the tried and tested technique. Now, it is also possible there are different techniques wherein you might try this way, that you start with something good, and when you tell a recommendation, you could do it this way, that you tell the good point. I felt your voice was very powerful, but I felt the emotions were lacking at, or you were getting screechy on the higher side at times. Hence, I felt maybe you could try this exercise and keep yourself more grounded. So I started with a good, then I shared the problem and I gave a recommendation, and then I again ended with something again good about the same thread. So that is also one of the way, and you do it with multiple things. Probably you do it this set in three, and then you end your speech. So this is also one of the technique. You need to find out what is your preferred technique. There could be one primary technique of doing it, or you could go with the traditional, or most of the Toastmasters use this, is they go with the traditional sandwich technique, which is you complete two goods, maybe share three recommendations, come back with one best commendation, and you end with something extra at the end. So that is something which you might want to use, but my suggestion would be, do not just restrict yourself to that. Experiment on and on around it. Use different kinds of techniques. There is a hamburger technique, probably the one which was explaining could be slightly related to an open hamburger technique, and there are more techniques. So where do you find about more techniques? Google it. That's the best place to find. You learn more, you find more, and you will be able to see other perspectives around it. Now when it comes to tone is a very key part. So imagine your dad coming and telling you, I think you should not have done this. If he tells it angrily, how do you feel? You feel defensive about it, right? So if somebody suggests you something to be corrected, and if that person does not have a softer or a respectful tone, then what is our first reaction? We feel defensive. Similarly, and a speaker would not like to hear their recommendations if we give the recommendation in a tone which could be insulting, which could be harsh, which could be hard, or which could be just not good to hear. So respect is very important. Always imagine yourself. Something which I do is I imagine how, if I have a problem or if I did something wrong, how do I want to tell myself, and how do I pamper myself but yet highlight to myself something which has gone wrong and what could be the correction for it. So imagine yourself at the other end and try to speak in a tone on how you would want to be spoken to. That's how you need to respect the speaker. And always promote esteem. Never ever, even if somebody is the first speaking for the first time, probably they have not spoken enough in school or college days, or maybe at office they have a job which does not which require them to speak often to people, but still they're speaking here. So do not try to highlight everything that went wrong. Highlight positives, and always encourage them, respect them, and appreciate them. So that's why your tone has a huge role to play. And remember, even the best of speakers might not have a good day. So it is possible that today you might have seen that person for the first time, but few days back that person might have given a stunning speech. So today you felt that this person was not good enough. So you cannot say that um, your voice has a problem. No, you cannot say that. Probably the other day that person gave a beautiful story rendition wherein that person was juggling different voices, had this great control over voice. There could be so many possibilities. So promote esteem. Respect the speaker as you would respect yourself. And when we talk about good speakers or not so good speakers, we are human beings who form tendencies to judge people. No matter how much we try to avoid it, we are always judging people, and it is a nature's way of creating shortcuts. For example, you see someone with a knife and that person has an angry face, you might be quick to judge that this person might be a thief. Could be not, that person could be a policeman. But it's just that how we react. And there are certain ingrained tendencies that we have. So if someone introduces a speaker, this person is a distinguished Toastmaster, 5 times distinguished Toastmaster, and so on, and you are evaluating that person, so you might feel intimidated. If somebody has been a distinguished Toastmaster for so long, this person might be a great speaker already. How do I tell this person a recommendation? So we feel intimidated as an evaluator and we try to tone down our recommendations. Or we have this halo effect coming up that this person is a great speaker, forever a great speaker. So it's important to note that whenever you are evaluating, you are evaluating that speech at that moment, and you're not evaluating ability. everybody has infinite ability. Anybody can become a good speaker. That is where Toastmasters as an organization has this belief, because of which it exists, that it believes that anybody can become a good speaker. So nobody is questioning ability. It's just that how much we have prepared for that day, and there could be 101 exigencies. If you are maybe tomorrow you have a science test, or you have an important meeting with your client at work, and you might not have had enough time to prepare for the speech, but you had committed, so you are still delivering that speech. So if your evaluator tells you that I did not find it good enough, or I had always seen, or you were a great speaker. So, and that person tries to either whitewash you or gray wash your speech, then it doesn't help us either way. So avoid biases like you want others to also avoid biases for you. And do not try to go easy on a speech just because that person has a track record of giving great speeches, or do not try to ignore somebody doing good because that person in the past 5 speeches probably did not render a good speech, or was not entertaining or exciting enough. It could be possible that on the 6th speech they have really put in a great amount of effort and they have done well. So appreciate it and evaluate the performance, not the ability. That is very important. And try to avoid criticism. We are giving recommendations here. We are not criticizing you. We never want to be criticized, and we do not want to criticize anyone. So that's again the heart of evaluation. So next we have, most importantly, always leave the speaker with a high.
Hello.
Why this is important? Yes. Okay. This is important because we want people to feel comfortable to make mistakes. And we want everyone to continuously grow. Nothing, as one of the Cavaliers pointed out, that nothing is the best version of you already. So each day you are beating yourself. The same way the speaker is improving. So it's important to give them that confidence that they can return back to the stage and feel happy about it. That's why always leave them with a high. And it's also important that they have really, everybody who delivers a speech in a Toastmasters forum has really put in effort. It could be a one night effort, it could be 4 weeks of effort, but they have done their research, they have come here and they have prepared for it. Hence, acknowledge that and appreciate that. And that's why give them something to smile when you end your evaluation. So always leave them with a high. Now, with that, here is where I am happy to take any questions on whatever we have discussed so far.
I wanted to ask a question, if I may.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, I wanted that I just learned that we should not criticize anyone just because of their one mistake. So, like, I'm not able to get. So, like, where do we have the option that we should criticize them or like we should appreciate them? Actually, I'm a bit confused. Like, where should we criticize them or where should we appreciate them?
So first thing is, when somebody is delivering a speech, you are taking down certain notes, as we discussed, that you need to find out, or you need to constantly note, what are you seeing when the speaker is speaking, then what are you hearing when the speaker is speaking, and what do you feel, what expressions, what emotions the speaker is trying to convey. So when we go back to the structure, or you have to find out, when you're observing, you are noting something positive and you're noting something negative. Now, negative can be some area where they need to improve. So how do you structure the information back is, you need to prepare your content before the presentation of your evaluation, and you need to come up with your top 3 commendations, like top 3 positive observations from everything that you have seen, heard, and felt from the speech. Then you have to structure it, that you might have noted 15, so you structure it, you bring up top 3. You have to always shortlist. If somebody wants to know more, you give them offline, but during the session, within that 1 to 2 minutes or 2 to 3 minutes of evaluation that you have, so you have to always shortlist items. And then the reason I said we do not criticize is because we give a recommendation. So recommendation is, if you notice somebody could have improved in certain areas, you notice the problem, and then you first think through, okay, what can I suggest to this person or this friend of mine who has given this wonderful speech today on how can they improve here, or what technique they could try, what could be the tip that I would want to give, or so you come up with that solution. So that's not criticism, you're giving a recommendation. Hence, so you structure it with your top 2 good points, you appreciate them, then you come up with 3 recommendations probably. It could be more or it could be less also, it's absolutely fine. But you find out any something that could have been improved. So you give that solution and suggestion, and then you summarize. So that's how you structure it. Sure.
She also I also have like giving like rating like out of 5 so they don't feel bad.
Yeah, so yes, we need to ensure that nobody feels bad. But when you are evaluating in that sheet, so try to look at it this way, that what do you want? Do you want your friend to not feel bad, or do you want your friend to grow in future to become amazing, that others also say your friend is the best speaker? So if you really want to do that and you feel that there is a possibility or scope of improvement, and that applies to everyone, we also feel the same way, that okay, I know this person, this is my friend for so long, maybe I'll just give this person 4, though I feel that that person maybe I should have given 3 or 2 in this speech. So but we always battle this. So what is an easy trick of doing that is, have you seen in the evaluation sheet that when you give the rating, there is on the right side a space where you can add points on as to why you have given that rating. So the moment you give why, that I am giving you 3, you tick 3, but you say that here you could have done this, or I noticed that your voice was faltering here, or you forgot your speech lines here and that was noticeable. So if you give these points, then they will not mind why you give them 3. And that applies to everyone.
I also had a question.
Yeah.
Like when you told about you asked the question that is this a feedback or an advice? So what should we basically take? We should take a we should always tell a feedback or an advice we should give. So I'm a bit confused in it. What should we always give to the speaker?
You should
Um,
always give feedback. The
okay.
reason we were discussing about feedback and advice is our natural tendency of, you know, telling someone is we go into the advice mode very fast. We are very fast to see our parents always advising us, don't do this, don't do that. But they should tell us that I want you to clean your room because when I enter here, you are not able to concentrate on your studies because your bed is scattered with all of the arts and crafts. So that's the feedback. So maybe you should tell your mom, I need a feedback as to why you want me to clean the room. If they come and tell us that you should clean your room, and my mom used to tell me often that, and I used to always feel bothered, like, who is going to clean the room? I'm not going to clean the room. But the moment she tells me the reason, or today some aunt is going to come, they're going to see your room, what are they going to think about you? Then I'm sprung into action that yes, I don't want them to feel bad about me. So that's the reason that somebody has given me. The same way in speech, when we are evaluating the other person, and if we find something, if we give them reasons, if we observe something and give them reasons as to why they should be correcting it and what is the greater impact which will come out of it. So when somebody's we give them that you should use you need to be more, you need to stand taller when you say this thing, or when you're giving a commandment or you're enacting a soldier in your speech, you need to stand taller. That would have really brought us or hooked us to your speech and made us feel that we were watching a soldier speak live. So this is the reason, and that's the feedback that you've given that person. If you just say that you should work on your body posture, that is ambiguous and nobody will understand. So we need to always avoid giving advice and give more feedback. And feedback is a very practical thing. That way you don't insult anyone, it doesn't feel like a criticism, and you are not trying to be bossy. That's the reason. Feedback.
Ma'am, that was amazing. I also have a question.
Sure.
Shall we take the rest of the questions offline because we'll progress with the rest of the
Okay,
session,
sure.
Toastmaster Rani?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Over to you then.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Rani, for conducting such an insightful and thoughtful workshop today. I loved how you taught us what to observe, how to observe, but most importantly, how to present the observations that we've made in a way that is helpful to the speaker, which is what is the total objective of being an evaluator. And I think that the numbers speak for themselves. We started off with around 30 odd participants and we ended the session with around 30 odd participants. So you had your members totally engaged and present in your entire workshop. So thank you so much for coming and conducting this workshop with us. Please join me in giving a round of applause to our trainer for the evening, Toastmaster Rani. All right. So with that, we'll progress to the next part of our session. And today, because we had a workshop, we'll be continuing with a table topic section. So before we start the table topic section, I'd like to call upon the general evaluator for today, who will be evaluating each of the table topic speakers. So our general evaluator for the day is one of my friends from both college as well as a colleague at work. She joined TCS in 2019 and she's been a Toastmaster since the past year as well. In just a very short amount of time, she's also become an area level evaluation champion herself. She's a secretary at TM KTC and has a passion for both music and public speaking. Please join me in welcoming our general evaluator for the evening, Toastmaster Protiti.
Thank you so much, Madam President, for that wonderful introduction. So today, as a general evaluator, my task will be to evaluate the session as a whole. So my job began right when the moment our beloved Surgeon at Arms began the session, and it will go on until the session ends. And as today we only have the table topic section, I will be evaluating the table topic speakers individually as well. And to help me, I have one role player today in the form of timer. And I would love to invite Toastmaster Kalpita to the virtual podium to explain her role, please.
Hello, everyone present here, fellow Toastmasters, Cavaliers, and dear guests. My responsibility is to keep a track of the time taken by each of the speakers speaking today. I'll use 3 cards, green, yellow, and red, to facilitate my job. I'll display the green card at the minimum time, that is at 1 minute. That is a minimum time to speak. The yellow card at 1 minute 30 seconds and the red card at 2 minutes. There is a grace period of 30 seconds on the upper side for any of the table topic speakers. I'll keep flashing the red card as long as the speaker does not stop speaking. So I'll present the report in the end when I'm asked to do so. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Kalpita. With that, I'll be handing it back to Toastmaster Ruchira to get on with the session, and that will be all from my end. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Madam General Evaluator. Now let's move on to the table topic section. And today we have a mix of Toastmasters, Cavaliers, as well as guests. And I believe that's going to lead us to a really interesting table topic section. So to conduct this table topic section, we have with us a lady who I've known for the past 2 months now. And if you ask me to tell you a little bit about herself, I think she's one of the most enthusiastic members that I've seen. She's a very calm lady and she has a lovely smile all the time, and that she keeps her video on. When I asked her to tell me a little bit about herself, she told me something that was so profound. She said that she is a lady who always chooses to feel good about herself. And I think that's a very wonderful takeaway that we can have even before you've started the session today. With that, I'd like to introduce our table topic master for today evening, Toastmaster Jayati. Over to you, Madam TTM.
Thank you, Madam President. Am I audible and visible? Okay, today I am the table topic master, and a very warm welcome and good evening to all fellow Toastmasters, Cavaliers, and respected guests. I will be giving you some topics on which you have to give an impromptu speech for 1 or 2 minutes, and you have a 30 seconds grace on the upper end. And Toastmasters, you cannot change the topic. Cavaliers, I might consider a bit, maybe. Guests, yes, you have the privilege to change the topic, but once you change it, you cannot come back to the previous one. So I would request everyone to please volunteer in the chat section. Or I'll just be forced to call out names. Please volunteer.
I think you have one volunteer from Vanya, if I'm not wrong.
Yes,
Sorry,
ma'am.
I don't.
Yeah, Cavalier Vanya.
Okay, Gabriel Vanya. Okay, your topic for today is, if money were no object, what would you do with your life? I repeat, if money were no object, what would you do with your life?
Thank you so much for the amazing topic, Madam TTM. Good evening, everyone. Today, I, Evaluator Gopal, is going to tell you something on my topic. If money was no object, how would my life be? When I say that money was not there in this world, I can think that most of us would be here right now. Many of us are mostly reliable on money, as money is in today's world is everything that we all ever have. You can buy anything from money. You can have anything that you ever wanted from money. But there are few things that you can never buy with money. For example, our love, our family members, and many other things that are there which are very close to us, but we cannot buy them with money at all. Money may be an important thing for some of us or for many of us present here. If to be honest, it may be for me also. But my priority is if in my life money won't be there, I would have enjoyed my life a little bit more because I would have spent my most of the life with my loved ones and the close ones, and there would be no fight between the family members amongst also in the inheritance. So I would love it for one day if the money would totally disappear in the air and would never come back for like 1 week or 2 weeks. I would like to live a life where money was not there at all. So I can actually imagine like if how the poor people would have felt without money. I would be able to understand their problems and all the things that we can face if money was not there. Now I would like to end and hand it back to TTM madam. Thank you so much.
Very well done, Vanya. May I request volunteers? And if nobody is volunteering, may I request distinguished Toastmaster
volunteer?
Satyadeep? Yes, of course.
It's me, Avisha.
Avisha, okay. Avisha, your topic is, why do you want everyone to know about you? One more time.
So it is a
Why
very
do you-
nice topic.
okay,
What I know,
carry on.
what I want myself to know about to everyone. As everyone has its own unique personality and their own way of their point of view. So I would like to tell everyone that I am a person who is mostly like to study. My favorite things are doing in free time are reading books, gather information on various topics, and I guess reading and writing stories is a very great opinion for everyone because it encourages our point when we have to grow up. We have to be something. We have to be something unique that has to be that everyone will see in the world, and then that will be your personality. That will be a famous thing that you are mostly famous for. So um like as I told that I love to read books, gather information. So like my USP, that is one point I want to grow up is I want to teach the poor kids. Why I want to teach? Because you see now the world, they all are asking for studies. They don't have money, but they still want to study. So that's a very great thing. So I'll teach the poor children free of cost, as they will get to know more about our universe. So yeah, and now I'd like to hand it back to the TTM master.
Thank you, Avisha. Okay, can I have some volunteers, please? Others, I'm sure all the Cavaliers are going to take over.
I can see we have raised a hand from Toastmaster Meg 3.
Toastmaster, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Toastmaster Maitri has volunteered.
Toastmaster Maitri. Okay, Toastmaster Maitri. Your topic is, do you forgive betrayal and why? Do you forgive betrayal and why?
Sure, this is a wonderful topic, I would say. Yes, I guess like I would not take any side of it specifically, but I guess sometimes we need to forgive betrayal, and sometimes we need to, move away with with just give off this betrayal and move forward in life. For example, I must say that sometimes unintentionally people tend to betray us. Like, for example, if we are in a, what should I say, in a romantical relationship with a person, and we find that person getting emotionally attached to some other person, then we might think with our conscience that, oh my God, I'm getting betrayed by this person whom I love the most. But actually not. Getting emotionally connected with someone else during whenever you are in a relationship with another person, I must say that it is not a crime. I mean, no one knows that when you get emotionally attached with whom. So in this case, this was, I would suggest that this was not an intentional betrayal, but it was an unintentional betrayal, because like we don't, what should I say, we don't get emotionally attached intentionally. It happens all unintentionally. But yes, betrayal sometimes may be intentional. For example, like we have trusted a friend of ours and we told her something, and she just says this to the person about whom we have been talking about. This is a serious betrayal. I mean, trust, friendship is one of those most valued relationships that we possess in our life. And then one fine day we find out that, oh my God, whatever we have been telling this person as a most trusted one, she has been actually breaking my and manipulating my trust into pieces. So in this case, this has been an intentional betrayal. So I would just have one piece of suggestion, that is, just think, sit down and relax and think what kind of betrayal we are going through. Like if it's an unintentional betrayal, you should give that person a chance, to think back and sit like, okay, now we can, like, always, if there's a will, there's a way. We can give a chance for him or her to change, or but if it's an intentional betrayal, then I think you should cut off that person out of your life. Thank you.
Thank you, TM Maitri. May I request a guest, Mahashweta?
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm there.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi.
So, yeah, hi. I'm going to suggest a topic for you. Please speak. I just took out your name.
Sure.
Okay. Your topic is, how do you treat people who can do nothing for you? How do you treat people who can do nothing for you? Please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. For me, to treat people who has done nothing for me is as easy to treat people who has done something for me. Finally, I am related to person because we are all humans. I cannot just treat someone who has done something for me in a very good way and who has done nothing for me in a very bad way. So for me, I would treat them equally and give them some chance to, maybe I would do something for them, and maybe after that they can do something for me. It can be in that way, because when you meet a person, you cannot immediately want that person to do something for you. It's a gradual thing, that they do something for you and I do something for them. It's not a mechanical thing that they start doing something for you immediately. Even talking to a person, even sharing something with them, your mind, talking to that person itself is doing something for them. And it's beyond of the myth that they have to do something for me and I have to do something for them. That's it. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mahashweta. Can we have distinguished Toastmaster Satyadeep? May I request you to please?
I think he's left the meeting.
He's left? Okay. Okay, can we have TM Arya? TM Arya, are you there? Okay, Priyanka Chatterjee. Priyanka Chatterjee, she has volunteered. Okay, your topic is, hello, are you there?
Yes, certainly.
Yeah. Your topic is, have you ever changed your plans because of your horoscope? Have you ever changed your plans because of your horoscope? Please go ahead.
Toastmaster Jesse and distinguished members here and lovely Cavaliers. I would like to talk about my plans and my horoscope. My horoscope was last seen, I think, when I was around 5 years old, because it was believed by my mother, but never ever by me. And the horoscope was closed forever and kept inside the locker in the almirah, because it was told that my death is going to happen because of drowning in the water. And imagine what would be the reaction of my parents when they heard something like that. And because of that, the horoscope was shunned in forever. And I never knew that what the plans of life was there, that life was holding for me. But I changed plan lot of times without knowing the impact of horoscope on me, be it in personal life, be it in professional life. I am a Taurian, and Taurians are usually known to be, driven by impulses and taking decisions on the spot. So perhaps that is the reason that I took decisions. Then when something didn't work out, I changed on the go, and I tried to tweak it based on so that it was in my favor. But sadly, always it didn't go on in my favor, even if I changed things. For example, in 2016, I changed my job. I left a very comfortable corporate job. And at that moment, my parents told, it was written there in your horoscope that you are going to be like this. And I said, whatever it is, take life as it comes. And with that, I will hand it over to distinguished Toastmaster Jed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. Okay, can we have TM Arya, please? TM Arya, are you there? Not there? TM Priya? Okay, how about TM Shahida? Come on, I'm not giving you such difficult topics. You can speak so much.
I have a sore throat, but yes, I can try.
Oh, lovely. I love that enthusiasm of yours, I tell you. I'm going to give you this topic. Okay, are you ready? Yeah. Worried genius or joyful simpleton? Which one would you choose and why? Worried genius or joyful simpleton? Which one would you choose and why?
Good evening, distinguished Toastmaster Jayatidatta and all of you, my dear friends. My motto in life has always been, always minus things to add joys in life. Keep it simple, KISS. Keep it simple, keep it short. And that has always been the motto, as I said. So I don't want to be a genius who's worried. Why would I want to be worried and take all the tension, all the stress of the world and say, see, Shahida, the genius? No, never. And for that reason, I prove it. What I did. I left, like Priyanka, my friend, I left my corporate job and I went to a life which gives me freedom to enjoy the simple joys of life. And when you live a KISS, a simplistic, a simple life, your life is filled with happiness. By deducting, by minusing all the heavy things, all the stress of life, you actually lead a simple life. So for me, it's always the letter. That is, keep a simple and a joyful life. Over to you, Toastmaster. Jay.
Wonderful, TM Shahida. I'm so glad that you took it up in spite of your illness. Thank you so much. It shows what kind of a lovely sport you are. Okay, can we have another one, please? we have time for one more, I suppose. TM Arya, not here? Okay.
Hi, sorry. Actually, I was taking grocery delivery.
Oh,
So I
okay.
was in another phone call. So yeah, I can take the
Okay,
topic.
fine. Are you ready? May I tell you the topic?
Yeah.
What was the last time, or when was the last time you felt jealous and why? When was the last time you felt jealous and why? Please carry on.
So jealousy, I think, comes from when you find something very interesting and impressive in someone else, which you probably cannot do or have in you. So I often feel jealous, though I don't carry it for a long time in my mind. So last time I think just in the afternoon when I was looking at the social media, I found someone wearing a beautiful dress and she was carrying it so well. And I felt and I just imagined myself in that dress and I remembered that maybe I cannot carry it that well. So I felt a little jealous. And that is I think quite okay to be jealous like that. But yes, now I'm not jealous of that person anymore. Rather, I am on that side where I'm like admiring that person so much that yeah, she really has such confidence that she's carrying that dress so well. So this happens quite a lot of time. I often feel jealous about people who can sing better than me, and I try to. So once I become jealous of someone, so after some time I become the follower of that person, and I try to get inspired from that person, the way he or she does the things which I'm jealous about him or her. So I try to follow and I admire that person more. So that way I try to take a healthy take on jealousy. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Madam President, do we have any more time for any more topics?
Sorry for today. I think we'll have to move
Okay,
close
fine,
the table
fine.
topics.
Okay. Fine. Thank you so much, all.
Thank you so
Over
much,
to Madam
Madam Table.
President.
Thank you so much, Madam Table Topic Master, for conducting such an engaging table topic section with
Thank
such
you.
wonderful topics that everyone could get a chance to speak today. Now, with that, I'd like to move on to our general evaluation section. Our general evaluator, Toastmaster Prutiti, over to you.
Thank you so much, Madam President, for that introduction. And I will, before I even begin evaluating this wonderful session, I would like to invite our timer, Toastmaster Kalpita, to please provide the timing report for all the table topic speakers. Over to you.
I would request the general evaluator to give me a minute. I will just prepare an Excel so that I can produce it to everyone. It becomes more clear.
Sure thing, no
I'll
worries.
just come back in a
So,
minute. Thank you.
absolutely fine. Okay, so I'll just go ahead with the evaluation then. I will begin with the evaluation of the session as a whole. So first of all, we had our Sergeant at Arms Toastmaster Amrita. So what I loved about how you carried out your role is that you explained all the rules really well and nicely, and you had a great introduction for Madam President as well. The only recommendation I would have for you, if you could have a little more energy to start off the session on a high note, and if one particular thing that any Sergeant at Arms can do at the start of the session is start it with a round of applause so that it gets the energy going for the whole audience. So that's the only recommendation I have for you. Otherwise, really well done. Next was our Madam President, Toastmaster Ruchira. I do not have any recommendations for you. You were impeccable in your role. So kudos to you on that. Next, we had our Madam Timer, Toastmaster Kalpita, who explained the roles really well when I invited her to do so. The only suggestion I have when you are introducing your role, try flashing the cards for the benefit of the audience once more, because often there are guests who may not know how you're going to flash the cards. So if you can show the cards as you're explaining the roles, it would be even better. Okay, so next I would evaluate the table topic section that we had right after the insightful workshop. So for the table topic session, we had Toastmaster Jayati as the table topics master. She explained the rules really well. She even mentioned the guest rule as well as a certain rule for the Gavaliers for this session. So I loved how she carried out the entire her entire role, and I do not have any particular recommendations for her. Now I'll move on to the speakers, the table topic speakers. Firstly, we had Gavalier Vanya. The topic was, if money was no object, what would you do with your life? Gavalier Vanya, what a profound take for a person of your age. I would have never imagined. I absolutely loved your speech. I was blown away because you had a practical take right from the start. You started off with how money is part and parcel of our lives, and you had a really profound take on it. You did not fumble throughout your speech. You even talked about how you want to experience it so that you understand poverty, which is a really a good take on your part. The only recommendation I would have for you is after you receive the topic, avoid repeating the topic back while you're speaking. Because I understand you need some time to think about the topic. So for that, during that duration, you may say things like, good evening, everyone, and all of that. And during that time, you can think about the topic. But if you could avoid repeating the topic, I think your speech would be even better. Next, we have Cavalier Avisha with the topic, why do you want everyone to know about you? So, Cavalier Avisha, you had such an energetic speech, and it was evident from your speech itself that you did want everyone to know about you, and why so? I really loved your take on it, and it was really informative. You talked about being unique, you talked about having a USP, which is a really wonderful take on the topic. And you also had a philanthropic take on it. You talked about teaching poor kids, which I believe really comes as a relief to all of us that we have our future in such good hands. So you had a really good message at the end of the speech. I absolutely loved it. The only recommendation from my end is when the table topics master provides the topic, the usual rule is that he or she will say the topic twice. So if you could just hold your horses a little and allow the table topics master to repeat the topic twice, and then you begin with your speech, I think that would be even better. And the other recommendation is, which is understandable since you're home, you might not be able to turn on your video, but if you could turn it on, I think it would really engage the audience even further. So that would be all for you. Next was Toastmaster Maitri with the topic, do you forgive?
Sorry to interrupt. I'm a guest.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Actually, you were introduced as Toastmaster. I'm really sorry. Guest Maitri. So your topic was, do you forgive betrayal and why? So since you're a guest, I would congratulate you even further that you took up this topic so well. You spoke about your perspective of romantic relationships, the unintentional betrayals that happen through emotional attachment. I really found it was so in depth, and it had such emotional depth, which often is lacking in various table topic speeches. So I really liked how you talked about all of that with a lot of passion. You also talked about betrayals in friendships. You spoke clearly and you had a dramatic element throughout your speech as well. You even ended with a suggestion for the audience, which I really loved. The only recommendation I could have for you is try to have an eye contact while giving the speech. So what I noticed was you were looking away while giving the speech. So that can be a bit of a disconnect for the audience. So if you could directly look at the camera, that would be even better. And the other recommendation I would have for you is if you could try adding a personal story as well. So that would really enhance your speech further. So next we had guest Mahashweta. How do you treat people who can do nothing for you? So guest Mahashweta, first of all, congratulations for coming up and speaking on such a wonderful topic. You had a clear take on the topic right from the start. And I really loved how you talked about it, how you talked about your own perspective on this. And the only recommendation I could have is the next time you come up on table topics, try adding a little bit of a personal touch to your speech. Any story from your own life where you have faced something similar, that would really make it better. Next, we had Priyanka Chatterjee. I'm not sure if she's a Toastmaster or a guest. If somebody could. Are you a guest? Okay. So guest Priyanka Chatterjee, again, congratulations for coming up and talking on this topic. And I really loved your speech, Priyanka, because you had a personal touch right from the start. So your topic was, have you ever changed your plans because of your horoscope? First of all, I found it to be a very unsettling topic. It's something we don't really come across in table topics. It felt very unique to me. But you ensured that right from the start, you talked about your personal the personal story of yours, where your horoscope was, closed up in a box because it talked about something so morbid, and you brought that about, and then you went on to talk about how you have taken personal and professional decisions in your life, irrespective of your horoscope, and you have done it because it would benefit you. And you had a really distinct conclusion where you talked about taking life as it comes and not to depend on horoscopes. So I really loved your speech. I do not have any recommendations for you at the moment. Next, we have Toastmaster Shahida with the topic worried, genius, or joyful simpleton. Which one would you choose and why? So, Toastmaster Shahida, first of all, a really big round of applause to you that you spoke despite your sore throat. I think it really stands for what Toastmasters is all about, that you keep going and you keep up with that positive attitude. So, kudos to you on that. You had an energetic start despite your health issues, and you talked about your professional decisions. You had a clear take on the topic right from the start, that which of the three is your choice in life. And you had that wonderful acronym of KISS, just keep it simple and short. And to my surprise, you even applied that to your own speech. You did keep it simple and short, and you had a very clear message. So I do not have any recommendations at the moment. And the last speaker was Toastmaster Arya. When was the last time you felt jealous and why? So, Toastmaster Arya, I really loved how you started off without any fumble. You just started off with defining what you feel jealousy is to you. You even talked about social media and the comparison trap that we often fall into. What I really loved is such a negative emotion like jealousy, you managed to transform that into things like admiration and inspiration. And I think that that was a really good take on the topic, and you had a positive perspective on the topic as well. So those were all of the table topic speakers and my evaluations of the same. And now I will hand it over to Toastmaster Kalpita for the timing reports of all the speakers, please.
Thank you, General Evaluator. I'll be sharing the screen with you all so that one can have a look at how they have performed. All of the speakers are qualified speakers. I hope the screen is visible. Gavilier Vania Agarwal has taken 1 minute 46 seconds. Gavilier Anisha Jain 1 minute 45 seconds. Guest Maitri Ghosh 2 minutes 18 seconds. Guest Maheshwate 1 minute 14 seconds. Toastmaster Priyanka 1 minute 52 seconds. Toastmaster Shahida 1 minute 20 seconds, and Toastmaster Arya 1 minute 31 seconds.
Thank you so much, Madam Timer, for that clear and concise report. Thank you so much. So that ends the evaluation section, and I would hand it back to Madam President to carry on with the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Madam General Evaluator, for that very crisp, concise, and yet very comprehensive report that really gave us a lot to take away. Now, before I take a little bit of feedback, I'll just be launching a Zoom poll over here. So please click on your role players for today evening. I request all of you, Cavaliers, guests, and Toastmasters to please vote. We've got 7 votes so far, so I'll just give you 1 minute more time to please quickly vote.
There's I can't see the option of submitting. Like it's showing submit, but it's not showing that option to click on it.
You can just click on the submit button, and if that's a problem, you can just ping me on the chat if you can't see the button. Okay. Okay. So I'll leave the poll aside.
Just writing you in the chat box.
Okay, sure. All right. So thank you so much for coming today for our wonderful session. We had a lot of guests, and I'd just like to take a little bit of feedback from guest Maheshwata, if you'd like to tell us a little bit about what you thought of today's session.
Today, good evening all. Today I got one of my confusions cleared. In the recent times, for the last 2 months, I could see my children were more attached to their father. I was keeping on thinking that why is this happening? It is because of the feedback, because he is now on Toastmaster and now he knows how to give feedback. So if he says 2 bad things, he makes sure to end the discussion with 3 good things. And I am the bad person because I only say the bad things. So in my house, the divide and rule policy is now with the Toastmaster. And I was thinking that maybe they are attached because they haven't seen their father for so long, because he is moving in, moving out. This is the time. So that is why they are attached, but it is not that. It is for the feedback and the feel good factor. So it's enriching for me. Now I have to apply the same to my children. At least I have to give them 4 feel good factors. It's now a fight, who can give the better things.
Absolutely. And I think that since Toastmaster Anshuman has just joined TMKTC, he's been a Toastmaster for a month and a half now, but we're looking forward to having you as our Toastmaster from the month of June, and then we'll really see whether it's the feedback which is the divide and conquer.
I just hope my children also do the same thing, and they do the same thing with us when we will be old.
Absolutely.
So,
thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks.
It was a pleasure having you at our meeting today. And we also have with us guest Priyanka. If you'd like to tell us a little bit about your feedback for the session today.
Yeah, Madam President and other fellow members, I am blown away because I think I last attended a Toastmaster session, and only one time I attended was 15, 16 years back. And then now today, there was a journey in my life as well. So now I see Toastmaster in a new light. And I think many of you are younger than me, especially the Gavaliers. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? And then I was like, nay, I have to open my camera and I have to speak. So it was really like so much fun watching all of you. It felt like, it didn't feel like I'm a guest. I felt like I'm a part of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster guest Priyanka, and we hope that you will become a soon-to-be Toastmaster, as we've spoken earlier as well. Looking forward to having you at our club as well. And just to take a little bit of feedback from our Gavaliers who have attended our session for the first time today. So if you'd like to tell me a little bit about what your experience was coming at a Women's Toastmaster Club. Guest Vanya.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Today's session was extremely enjoyable, and we do not have these kinds of sessions in our virtual Gavit Club. And I loved attending the session. The evaluation session and the table topic session were both commendable. I mostly enjoyed the table topic session very much because many of us spoke on very interesting topics that were given. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gavalier Vanya, for that wonderful feedback. And do we have any other Gavalier? Yes, Gavalier Vani, if you'd like to tell us about your feedback a little bit.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Gavalier Rani. I really enjoyed today's session. It's basically cleared all my doubts as an evaluator, since I played the role of the evaluator 2 times and I was little confused and nervous. And now I really know the difference between feedback and an advice, and it helps me a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Gavalier and Avisha, would you like to share a little bit of feedback?
Yeah. So my journey to this virtual club has been very amazing, as I got to know about virtual Gavel Club by my Masis. They told me about it, so I felt very interested in doing it. So yeah, now I have been almost a Gavalier for 1.5 months, and first time I'm joining this club, and I felt very, very, very inspiration, and had a lot of inspiration, like from you, Ruchira ma'am, for all the guests and all the Toastmasters. I felt like when I'll also grow up, I'll sure become a Toastmaster, and I'll also teach all the Gavaliers the things you taught us.
Thank you so much, Cavalier Ravisha, for the wonderful feedback. And I'd love to take feedback from our other guest Maitri, if you'd like to tell us a bit about the session, your feedback.
Sure. I mean, it was a wonderful session, and I especially loved seeing these little children today joining us. Like, this was a pleasure. I mean, what should I say? And the whole event was like, whichever speakers spoke, they were just meticulous with their performance, and especially these children, they are so matured enough to understand what is about the topics. That's a blessing, I must say. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guest Maitri, and we hope to have you as our Toastmaster as well very soon. With that, let me quickly announce the results for today's session. We have as our best table topic speaker a tie between our own Toastmaster Shahida and our Cavalier Vanya. So please have a round of applause for both of them. For our best role player category 1, we have a 50-50 tie between our Toastmaster, our table topic master Toastmaster Jayati and our general evaluator Toastmaster Prakriti. And as the role player for category 1, we have me as Toastmaster Ruchira as president. And I would just like to say that for once I was not the youngest member of today's session. And for that, I am very grateful to the Cavaliers who come. With that, I formally close today's session. And if you want, you can stay back for some chit chat.